Welcome back, Truth Seeker. Want to share a story with you and then get into all the news events and also talk about what I'm planning for 2020. So, this happened to me on Christmas Eve. This is a lot better story than 3 years ago when a car crashed through my house. But I was in a bookstore on Christmas Eve and I saw this one copy sitting on the end. I didn't see any more. And I said, when God winks at you, what could that book be about? And I open it up, and the first page talks about how coincidences aren't coincidences. They're the way God communicates with people. And right away I was intrigued because that's something I've always thought. I don't think the word coincidence, so often when we use it, it's not really a coincidence. I do think coincidences exist, but I think some things are definitely a lot more than coincidence that we write off as coincidence. And so what's funny is in the second page of the book, and the first page is just like a paragraph, it's one of those short first chapter pages, and then so pretty much right at the beginning of the book, he talks about when you get a phone call unexpectedly from a friend. And right after I read that, like within 5 seconds, the phone rings. And it's a friend calling. And not someone that calls that often, so it's not like they call every day. In the time they've had my phone number, they've probably called me 4 times. And, usually they text message. So anyway, it's just strange that he's calling right after I read this passage. And I think, okay, I'm going to get this book. Even if it's not that great, I'm going to get it because this is interesting. I pick up the book, I start to read it, I'm already intrigued. The phone rings right after I read this passage, just within seconds. And so anyway, sweet lady wanted me to she wanted me to give her an idea for a gift, and she happened to be with me, and I said, how about you get me this book for your one gift giving, and I'll be all set. So anyway, she didn't want me to read it anymore until, after we opened it up. But anyway, so I read the book, and what's funny is on the 33rd page of the book, right? Apparently, this is not the first edition. This is not the first edition of the book because in this edition, on the 33rd page, he's telling the story of how difficult it was to make this book a seller and how long it took to get published. And on the 33rd page of the book, he talks about how somebody finally published it in Portland. And he didn't specify Oregon or Maine, but I'm going to assume it was Portland, Oregon. It's the bigger Portland city, and one of Portland's mottos is keep Portland weird, and that's kind of how he felt about this book, or how everyone treated it, like it was too weird. Nobody wanted to do a book with God in the title. So he finally finds a publisher in Portland. And where was I when I found this book? I was in Portland, Oregon. That's my hometown. And so I'm thinking, okay, that's weird. He's telling this story of how difficult it was to get his book published. And of course, I have my book, Letters and Numbers. And the person who was going to publish it backed out. No one else has been willing to publish it. I've been selling in ebook format. People started to have it printed on Lulu. It got banned on Lulu, just like it's been banned on Etsy and Bonanza and other sites. So anyway, right now I'm going through, this phase of rewriting the book, making the book more compact, trying to make it so that someone's willing to publish it. And I just thought, maybe that's a good sign right there. That's one of those, I guess, when God winks at you. Because just days before that happened, what I had told my people on Patreon who count on me to decode sports every day is that I was stepping away and I was passing on the torch to two good students, help them raise some revenue, carry on the community. And I said, what I really need to get done is figure out how to get this knowledge I've been teaching for the last 6 years into the hands of more people. And I haven't been successful at that. So I'm going to figure out how to get the book printed. I'm going to figure out how to spend more time making more people want this information because we need it. And, then right after that, I find this book, the little story plays out, and I think, okay, that is a sign that I'm doing the right things right now. Because again, the people in my life, they don't think I'm making the right decisions. They're like, you have a great thing going decoding sports every day. You have a lot of people that are subscribed to that. You're making good revenue. I say, I know, that's all nice. I mean, I could be comfortable in that, but that's not what I'm here to do. As much as I like to help people decode sports, it's that this knowledge and this work needs to go further. It's that right now there needs to be a team of people in front of the LSU football stadium or wherever the LSU game was today. Same with the Clemson and Ohio State game. Because all year we've been talking about certain things with these football teams. And if you followed me on July 5th, 2019, I told you that day there was a death of a Clemson player. I showed how it was synced up with the championship game. I said this is as close as a lock as you get to Clemson being in the championship. It's just like last year when their former running back C.J. Fuller died and it was synced up with the championship game. And sure enough, Clemson ended up in it. So anyway, this knowledge, rather than people just using it to gamble and win, again, there needs to be a group of people in front of the football game today saying, remember Tyshon Dye. And here's what else I want to tell you about the death of Tyshon Dye. And then today with the LSU plane crash, which we'll talk about. And then LSU wins big in their college football playoff game. Now they're on the way to play Clemson in the championship. And, so much more. So I've been brainstorming how to make this happen. How do we make people want to share this knowledge, get out there, engage? How do we make it possible? And I was thinking of a campaign that could work, and maybe just something like Gematria 500. And what the goal is to set a city, a date, a location, and say our goal is to get 500 people to show up in this space. And if it's not quite 500, a gathering of 100 people can be very effective, even less. But the goal would be to get 500 people to a space, and maybe even more, to help share this knowledge and create, something that makes people walking by go, whoa, what is going on over there? Why are 500 people gathered talking about this word? What is that word? Gematria? And the way I was thinking this could be possible is make a t-shirt, maybe even for each city you go to, or maybe just a generic t-shirt for each spot. Gematria 500. Get people asking what Gematria 500 is. And, you sell the t-shirt for dirt cheap. The point of the t-shirt, you can put it out in different colors. Maybe not get it too cheap so that, it lasts. I hate the type of clothing they make that, dies the first or second time it goes in the washing machine. To me, that's horrible. But, something that's inexpensive, that lasts, that you can wear numerous times. And, it just says Gematria 500 or somehow it gets the phrase Gematria out there. You can have them in different colors because people, like different colors. Maybe ones with different Gematria knowledge on the back, something like that. But I was just imagining, the goal is you say, okay, we're coming to this city for this reason. For example, we're going to the college football championship game to educate people about the death of Tyshon Dye, the Louisiana plane crash the same day LSU goes to the championship, and a number of other things, just like what we'll cover later in this live stream. But you get 500 people there. The majority are wearing T-shirts. I was thinking about making like a 10-page version of my book too, or maybe even less, just like a pamphlet that you can just essentially print out. People could hand them out. Maybe just even a pamphlet, just a pamphlet. So anyway, all these things can be done, and I'm just imagining what could happen. And if our goal was to do one city per week for the year, so about 50, 52 cities. Maybe here and there we take a break. Or maybe we can even make it more frequent. But I'm just imagining you get 500 people in one city for one weekend to gather. At least that's the goal. You aim for at least 100. And, you show up in your T-shirts, your pamphlets, you have your knowledge, you're ready to speak, you're in a group so you're safe in numbers, and you engage crowds of people that are just walking by. Being somewhere near the sports game, a park near the sports game, a park blocks away where people are getting coffee and food before the game. There's places like this in most cities that people could gather. Or if the group's too big, you could even split up and go to all four corners of the stadium, the place where people could gather. And again, it doesn't just have to be sports games. There's just so many things to talk about. Sports is just an example. It was a big sports day, so we're talking sports. But anyhow, I think that this could be the way to do it. People, gather, they have something on that catches people's eye, this new word, this interesting knowledge. And the thing about this knowledge is you can back it up. I can show people my video from July 5th, 2019, the day the news was of Tyshon Dye dying, and I can show, in my own words. As sad as this is to say, this is about as close as you can get to a lock in sports. This is just like what went on last season with Clemson. It's gone on many times before. Here we are again. Clemson's in the championship game, perfectly synced up with this young man's death. And, an even more recent example, again, the Louisiana plane crash, and we'll talk more about it. So Anyway, you guys can give me some feedback and let me know what you think about this idea. My goal is in 2 months to have my newest book, which will be a lot shorter, a lot more condensed, a lot more to the point, a lot less bannable, but we'll have every bit as much relevant content. I'm just going to write it so that no one can deny it. Because again, this information needs to get out there. And then if this is successful, I'll definitely write some more controversial books that probably will be banned again. Because things do need to be said. But anyway, this is the goal. I'm putting what I've been doing for the last year on the back burner, which is trying to build revenue for this movement by decoding sports every single day. Again, as much fun as that can be, there's a lot more important things that need to be done. The First Amendment is under major attack. We're going to talk about tonight's supposed stabbing at the New York synagogue. We know who's leading the charge against the censorship of the online truth community and who's going after the First Amendment. Is organizations such as the ADL, which are also already commenting and tweeting away on tonight's stabbing. We're going to get to that. And anyway, the time is now to act. It's been now the whole time I've been speaking out since 2013, but I just realized, our days of having an opportunity to speak out could be numbered, so the time to make something happen is right now. And the other thing that's cool is, if this is successful, we can also promote the page Free to Find Truth. Again, the free place online. Let's see. That's the website, freetofindtruth.com. That website, again, recently launched. It is the social media website for truth seekers, free to use. Information is safe. No one's collecting your data, your information. Nothing like that. It's just a free place online for people to socialize and organize who care about truth and not have to worry about getting censored. The only thing that's not allowed is trolling. And that's it. And try to be polite. Recognize it's people joining this site outside of trolls who want to make a difference, who want to see the world become a better place, who want to have friends that they can speak to things about without being dismissed and written off with all the stereotypes. For most people, you can't even say three words. I could imagine being in an average living room tonight in anywhere in America and saying, "Don't you think it's weird? There was that big Louisiana plane crash, and then LSU dominates their playoff game. Don't you think that's weird?" Most people would just, "Are you a conspiracy theorist?" It's like, well, don't you notice this goes on all the time? Do I have to be a conspiracy theorist, or maybe someone who just sees that these types of things just happen to be in the news together all the time, just season after season, year after year? So, anyway, let's switch over here and let's go through the news stories. So, tonight, you know what? Here, let's just watch what things are like. So this is what I've been doing for the last year straight. If you want to know what I've been doing, in which I'm not going to do so much. I told people I would finish this football season, but then I'm passing off the daily decodes to other people in the community. And again, if you're on my Patreon, you know who I've already recommended. They've set up their pages. They're going to carry on this same tradition. One of them happens to call in this clip, but here, let me just show you. We'll just watch about 7 minutes of today's live discussion, decoding sports, and you can just see the value of this knowledge right here, talking about things that happen before they happen. So hold on, got to get us on the right page. Let's see. Okay. So today's sports live stream here, I'm just going to play a little bit of this real quick. So just so you can see, this was posted at 2:54 p.m. December 28th. And it's about 45 minutes in. Today's live stream lasted a little under 3 hours. Getting pretty typical. Do a lot of work every single day. But somebody had just called in and asked for the Clemson game. And I'd been telling people all year that I like Clemson, but I'd been telling people all year that I expect Ohio State to have a special season too. But again, I've been telling people Clemson's the game that had the death synced up with the championship. You might recall at the beginning of the year, Ohio State, Beanie Wells' brother was murdered. I told people Ohio State would probably go undefeated heading for the college playoffs. And then once they ended up running into Clemson, I said, well, Clemson still has the better narrative. So here, this is what it looks like day after day.
Football, head-to-head.
So I'm looking up the stats in real time.
Clemson Tiger, bowl record, 24-20 in bowl games. Hold on. Remember, they had the death of that player that was synced up perfectly with the date of the championship game.
And that's Tyshon Dye that I'm referring to.
Ohio State had that riddle, too, at the beginning of the year, but it was not synced with the championship game. Okay. They're 3-0. So Clemson's 3-0 versus Ohio State? Well, that stands out right away. If they win today, they're 4-0. So Clemson wins, they're 4-0 versus...
And notice, Clemson did go on to win to become 4-0 versus Ohio State, but notice how in the reverse alphabetic order, Ohio State's 131. Today, their season record became 13-1. And that's the championship, remember. They're in the championship game. Championships 131, Super Bowls 131. The championship game this year will be on 13/1 like 131. You know, the same number we talk about year after year. We talked about that number the day Tyshon Dye died. Dabu Sweeney equals 131. Turns out that Dabu Sweeney can get his 131st win in the championship game as the coach at Clemson. And again, it's the same numbers that show up year after year after year. But again, this is also why you got to know the four ciphers. Saw some Ohio State 11-2 records this year, but Clemson becomes 4-0 versus Ohio State. Ohio State falls to 13-1.
Versus Ohio State. So that definitely jumps out. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Zach, what's going on?
Hey, man, just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah. Good. I've been trying to reach you, man. I was needing a little help on trying to get my live stream up. I got everything. I'm just like one step away, but I believe I got somebody Monday to come help me and look at it. But if not, if the next time you see I'm calling you, if you can, because I think I'm already set up. I just need to get past this one little step.
Yeah, I'll help you out. I didn't realize you needed help. Sorry I missed the calls, man. But, yeah, as soon as I'm done with this...
Because it was during the holidays anyway. I actually called you like the day after Christmas, and I think later on Christmas, so I apologize for that. I know you've been busy. But, yeah, I just wanted to touch bases with you because I'm ready to fire up my live stream. And another thing, too, I know you're about to start looking at this Clemson game. I had in my notes and stuff today. I think Dabo, he's at 129. And we were just talking about that 131. And if he win these two, he'll get that 131. And like you were just saying, you've been on Clemson the whole year about that deal for the players in the beginning of the season.
Right.
Right, and I don't know if you heard, but right before the game, I know you heard, because this is what you do with the news, but you know the plane crash with Clemson player, with the Clemson daughter, you heard about that?
Wait, I heard about the plane crash that involved the woman who's connected to the LSU coordinator. There's one with Clemson.
I mean, that's what I meant. I'm sorry, that's what I meant, LSU.
Right. So, yeah. So I'm thinking that's probably
LSU had a deal with the team, affiliated with the team, and then, like you said, Clemson had one earlier that year.
Right. That is probably the sign that LSU is going to be there. So.
Right. And I believe Clemson, like you said, when you look at Dabo's record, he's at 129. So, like, if you win these next two, it's the perfect 131 to win the championship.
Exactly. Yep. And they already scheduled their parade and everything. That's exactly what's going on here, I think. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. That's all I want. I know you still at it. One more thing, like I got off like my third day posting. I got off to Christmas. I don't know if you checked the scores, but it was a brutal day on Christmas. It was nothing but dogs. But I was just gonna say, if you can try to if you can look out and if you can join my page and then see if you can critique me, like if I'm doing something wrong, because I know you've been doing it for the last year. I think I'm basically doing everything you did on following your footsteps, but maybe you might see something that I'm doing wrong, if you can give me some advice, that's all.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And Rod, I mean, honestly, man, you're going to do great without my input or not. I mean, you know exactly what you're doing. You called in and made great calls all year. Everyone knows your voice. I'd encourage everybody to sign up for your Patreon. As soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to call you back and figure out. Did you watch the video I put together on how to set up the live stream?
I did. You was good. It's just I got to this part where you got to do the 5-6 minutes delay, and it's like once I set the time, it won't let me publish it. So it's like that's why I get frozen. If I can go.
Okay.
Worst case scenario, if I don't go live on the Patreon Monday, I go live on YouTube, and I just tell everybody to go on YouTube because don't nobody know me on YouTube. You know.
Right. You'll build up your following.
Right.
I'll call you as soon as I'm done, and we'll get this figured out.
Okay. I appreciate it, man. I just wanted to drop you that. Don't forget Dabo Sweeney. You can get that 131.
I just put that on the screen. Yeah, I'm all over that. And that goes because, again, that player that died, his death was perfectly synced with the day of the championship. So, yeah, I think that's what it is. All right. Yeah,
good. All right, I'll let you go. Appreciate it, man. Good work, man. I appreciate you everything, man. I swear, man. I can't thank you enough.
All right. Well, keep it up, Ron. You're going to do great. All right. Let him in.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so the Ohio State quarterback coach hasn't lost yet. He's 16-0. Doesn't mean that he can't lose here. I'm just gonna think about if there's any connection to that. Clemson, Tigers. Oh, on Christmas Day, my sister put me on the spot with the 76ers game, and she said, well, who's going to win this one since you call the games? And I just looked real quick, and it just reminded me about keeping it surface level. I said, well, I see the 76ers are going for their 16th home win, and Milwaukee equals 53 the 16th prime, so I got to go with that. Thank God they won. But anyway, let's see. My sister's my biggest hater. Okay, hold on. But I still had to go hang out with her. She's going through a tough time. All right, let's see. I'm taking Clemson here. I'm not even doing the full homework. It's just seeing how Sweeney can, if he wins this game, and then he'll be in the championship, get the 131st. And again, we just saw that Clemson can become 3-0 versus Ohio State. And or did I say 3-0? I mean 4-0, and Ohio State's 40. So I'm taking Clemson in that one. Just out of curiosity, I got to see what they have the spread at for that game. I'm sure Clemson is the favorite. The Ohio State quarterback got injured too, so that could be part of the narrative. I remember he got his knee buckled in one of those games late in the season, maybe even their last game. Oh, God, LSU wasted Oklahoma. I didn't even realize it was underway. But, yeah, that just makes sense because that's the way it works, right? The news story, I mean, that's the front page news story today. I bet you it still is. Yeah, the Louisiana plane crash. I mean, it's just so sick how it is, man. So, LSU laying waste to Oklahoma, and Pennsylvania wins with 53 points. Pennsylvania 53. Clemson's only a 2.5-point favorite, huh? All right, so whoever loses is 13-1. Yeah, I gotta ride the Clemson train. Trying to remember the name of the Clemson player. It's Dye, D-Y-E, is that how he spells it? Show you the story real quick. Tyshon Dye. Okay, so Tyshon Dye supposedly drowned on July 5th. And, hold on. Let me show you what it was here. It was Dabo Sweeney's 228th day of his age. Death is 228. He drowning in Dabo Sweeney about 50. But this is it right here. From the day of the death to the date of the championship game, which, by the way, can be written 13/1, like 131. And we just saw how Sweeney, if he wins today, he'll get his 131st win in the championship game. From the death to the championship is 192 days, and those Clemson Tigers is 192. It's also 75. July 5th can be written 7/5. And it's just like around the day before this, Hawaii. Hawaii had a death on July 4th, and I said this looks like it'll be a special season for Hawaii. Hawaii goes on to win their bowl game over BYU. So, Dabu Sweeney also equals 131. We were talking about how the championship. I didn't see back then, though, how if he won out all season, he'd get his 131st win. So I got to ride that narrative. Those are the championship numbers. All right, so that was our college football break.
Hold on. And actually in real time, what's funny is if you go on my page right now, I have a congratulations for people who won on the Clemson future. The trolls are all over it saying I never called Clemson. I have this pack of trolls that live on my page all day, and all they do is lie and dismiss the truth all day. It's just so sad. There's a pack of paid for individuals that live on the Patreon that just sit there and post all day and harass everybody and write false statement after false statement. It's sick, really. But hold on. I think I just noticed something about the Tyshon Dye post in real time. Well, Dye equals 47 like Ohio. I'm just thinking about how they ended up beating Ohio State. Okay. Guess there wasn't as much there as I thought. He died 211 days after his birthday, the 47th prime. Dye 47. And think about that. Tyshon Dye dies in a ritual synced up with the championship. And last year it was C.J. Fuller for Clemson, whose death was the same type of thing. Former running back for Clemson, his death synced with the championship date. So, stuff is sick. All right, let me switch it back over and get on with the presentation here. I got to change... Hold on. Okay. All right, there we go. So, notice tonight, ESPN puts out this stat right after Clemson wins. Look at the timer. 131. You know what I mean? Ohio State falls to 13-1. Ohio State's 131. Championship is 131. Clemson on their way to the championship. And for years, we've talked about the same pattern with the numbers 57 and 131. You know, years ago, let me see if I can pull this story up right here. If I type in Peyton Manning, 57, 131. This is where I really connected the dots with this repetitive pattern that we've documented so many times since over the years. But the year of Super Bowl 50, in October, I said Wyatt would be the Broncos over the Panthers, Von Miller would be the MVP, and a whole bunch more. Black Panther tribute to Super Bowl 24. Everything that we talked about in October came through. But this story, ESPN kept up this story all year that year, the year of Super Bowl 50. 57 high school students named after Peyton Manning. He went on to win Super Bowl 50 that year. 57. Again, when you write out 57 as a word, it sums to 131, just like Super Bowl, like championship. And back in the day, Gematria.com didn't exist, and this is how I did most posts. You know, I wrote them out by hand. And I can still do it. I know all the letters, you know. Here, I'll show you how. Just for old time's sake, this is how I used to do it back in the day before Gematria. I'd write out the word. Now my keyboard sucks, so that might make it more difficult. But I would do it just like this. I would add it all up. So, okay, I wrote out each letter as a number. F is 6, I is 9, F is 6, T is 20, Y is 25, S is 19, E is 5, V is 22, E is 5, N is 14. And I'd add it up one at a time. 6 plus 9, 15, plus 6, 21, plus 20, 41, plus 25, 66, plus 19, 85, plus 5 more, 90, plus 22, 112, plus 5 more, 117, plus 14 more, 131. You know, and I just do that for each letter. So that's 57, championship. If I can type right. 3, 8, 1, 13, 16, 9, 15, 14, 19, 8, 9, 16. I think I got it all. And then once you memorize it, you know that the numbers, what they should add up to. So you just got to make sure you typed it out right. This is also how I wrote out my book. If you guys have read my book, it has a lot of math like this in there. 3, 11, 12, 25, 41, 50, 65, 79, 98, 106, 115, 131. And I won't drive you nuts, but I mean, it's the same thing with 57. Or whoops, I already did that. It's the same thing with Super Bowl. So, They all add up to the same 131 value. And realized this once upon a time, and then I just noticed once I saw the relationship how many times those numbers came together in sports history, and then we've just been documenting it season after season. Team has the 57 on the board, team has the 131 on the board. It's usually a really good sign that they're going to at least be in the championship game. They don't always win it, but it's usually a sign you're going to be there. So, yeah, if you add up, maybe that, let me see, might be too small now that I think about it, but again, because I've done this so much, I know the numbers inside out, and I've even learned to type them out pretty fast. I don't even have one of those keyboards that has the number pad on the side, but just doing it with the Mac ProBook. So, hold on, let's take a call and then we'll get on with the rest of this. What's up, caller?
Hey, Zach, your audio's being distorted.
What's wrong with it?
First, it just kind of blanked out for a whole minute, and then it sounds kind of robotic-y.
Huh.
Yeah.
It shows that my connection's good. You know what's funny? I was going to start this live stream about 30 minutes before I did, but my phone, without even asking for permission, did this whole system reset that took forever, and I was like, what the hell? For the first time ever, I'm using my phone as a hotspot to power my internet connection because my internet's out and the cable company doesn't know why. They're going to come out here Monday and tell me what's wrong with it, but my internet went out, and now I'm doing the hotspot and the weird update right before I was about to start. I was like, okay, normally ask me if I want to do a system update. It doesn't just start this 30-minute process. So.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know. The Wi-Fi company's probably going to tell you that you need a new router. I don't know. I had the same issue, and it was out for about a week. And everybody else's internet in my neighborhood was working fine. And then they came and it was like, oh, well, you need a new router. So it's probably the same situation.
It's not. That's what they told me. So I went down to the shop and got a new router. And then we hooked that up and it didn't work. And then they told me I might need a new modem too. So I went down and got a new modem. We hooked that up. That didn't work. So they said, no explanation. We'll have to send out a technician. So anyway, it's just weird. I was out of town for a few days and I come back and the internet doesn't work anymore.
All right, man. But yeah, I just kind of want to let you know, I think other people might have been experiencing that too.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, man.
No problem, brother.
Yeah, you just never know. Technology, sometimes it does just go kaput, but everything just seems strange. So anyway, and notice how that name Clemson and Tyshon Dye have the overlap. Again, that's why you got to know these base ciphers. But moving on. The Louisiana plane crash today. I was actually pretty lazy with this, but just right away things stood out. Louisiana has that Gematria 38-like death. You get this story of death. They tell you that the woman who died, she was a reporter for the Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. And again, the Saints are one of the favorites in the NFL. They said her father-in-law is the coordinator for LSU, who won their game in a big way today. All throughout the year, we've tracked suspicious deaths in Louisiana, synced up with the Saints. Mainstream media uses this photo of her in the Saints gear. If Sean Payton wins tomorrow, he's going to get his 131st win in the regular season. That's the Saints coach. This happened on a date with 79 numerology, murder 79. If you watch the last video I did before this one, we talked about some deaths with 79 connections. What's wrong with me? George Michael's sister, who now died on Christmas 3 years after him. Her name sums to 79. Murder 79. When you write out 3 as a word, it's 79. Later that same day, which I didn't even know, but after we talked so much about 79 in that video, then Don Imus dies at age 79. Now, December 28th, the date was 79 numerology. You get this story, this plane crash, young woman and a number of people. And in light of the team she works for in pro sports, the Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans, let's not forget that the Pelicans got Zion Williamson, who's being held out with a hoax injury right now. Let's not forget that Zion Williamson equals 74. This is the 74th NBA season. Jewish equals 74. And the Zion Williamson sweepstakes was May 14th, the anniversary of the establishment of Zionist Jewish Israel. So, again, English is 74, Gematria is 74, Occult 74, Masonic 74, Jewish 74, just using the alphabetic order, the most simple cipher. And This code of letters and numbers comes from Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. So this young woman's name was Carly McCord. Carly McCord, right? And what stands out right away, her name in the most pure cipher sums to 57. 57. And again, when you write out 57, it equals 131, like championship, like Super Bowl. LSU goes on to win to advance to the championship. Coach on the team loses his daughter the same day. This stuff like clockwork in pro and college sports, we talk about it year after year. I get frustrated when I talk about it now because I'm on my 20th channel and so many proofs and predictions have been deleted because of Google's censorship, calling what I'm doing right now hate speech, which it never has been. You know, they're just taking down truth speech and real information that harms their advertisers. You have to realize, you know, when the college championship rolls around, YouTube's going to make a ton in advertising from those things. There's a reason to not have this information on their platform. Again, Clemson became 4-0 versus Ohio State today, and Ohio State fell to 13-1 as well. Same numbers all abound. And notice Carly also sums to 28. She dies on the 28th, right? Carly's 64 and 28 like kill. 34 like murder. We just talked about that with the ESPN reporter. And then LSU beats Oklahoma, and Oklahoma goes down with 28 points on the 28th point, on the 28th of the month. Buckeyes equals 28. The Buckeyes are Clemson's sacrifice on the 28th of the month. LSU's quarterback, of course, just won the Heisman, has a historic game, 8 touchdowns. If you've been following us on Patreon this year, 8's been the number of the year. It's 2019. 19's the 8th prime number. Following all the rituals with 8 this year, you know, made a killing. So it's rigged from college to pro. Something else we've been talking about all year. September 3rd, 2019, ESPN called this year the year of the black quarterback on 9/3. And remember, Black History Month's 93, Malcolm X 93, Martin Luther King Jr. 93, Rosa Louise Macaulay Parks 93, Tuskegee 93, Huxtable 93, and so much more. The man who told, you know, people to move back to Africa, his full name, I think it's Marcus Garvey. His full name's 93. You know, so many 93s. Beyonce, Giselle Knowles, a million more. 93. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, they only met one time in history on a date with 93 numerology. And anyway, this year, that story, the year of the black quarterback, the image that ESPN put out for that story was Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, 2 young black quarterbacks, 2 most young exciting quarterbacks in the game. We talked about last week, we expected the Ravens to clinch the top seed in the AFC by winning exactly 42 days before the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson just scored 42 points on the day that he passed Michael Vick in the history books. Happened to do that on the day, leaving 19 days left in the year. Jackson's 19. But last week when they clinched the top seed, it was 42 days before the Super Bowl. Again, the only 2 quarterbacks to ever win a Super Bowl that were black were Russell Wilson from the Seahawks in the 42nd state. Seahawks also equals 42. And Doug Williams, who played for the Washington Redskins. Slavery 42. George Washington, the slave owner. The only black quarterbacks to ever win Super Bowls played for Washington, D.C., and Washington State. This year's a span of 42 years since Doug Williams was drafted. Remember, 42 stamped all over black history. The name Jackie 42. The other year on Jackie Robinson's birthday, you had 3 dead black celebrities, all with 42 names. Rajuel Butler, Oscar Gamble, LaTanya Lemon. Oscar Gamble, the baseball player, died 42 days after his own birthday. 42, this number all over black history. We've been talking about this a lot this year with the rituals in the NFL. And now Marcus Peters signs for $42 million. Ravens star player. $42 million, right? Sick joke. It's 353 days after his birthday. That's the 71st prime African American 71. Another number that gets coded in black history. So that was in the news. And then, hold on. Do I have my camera up here? Hold on, I gotta get something real quick. Let's see. Okay, what is 47? Somebody made this for me about 2 years ago now. I've had this in the background for about 2 years. What is 47? I've been talking about it for years. And this isn't a real license plate. Somebody just made one of those replica things because I always say, what is 47? Again, the number that clued me into this whole study was 47. I realized it was everywhere, and it is. Once you recognize it, you're like, God, they put this number everywhere. Movies, news stories, it's everywhere, literally. You see it every single day. And for the person to go, well, you just notice it because you're thinking about it. No, it's not like that. Again, for years, from the time of 9/11 on, I just noticed that 47 was everywhere. And it took me over a decade to find Gematria. But then when I did, I was like, now I see what they're doing. So today's synagogue stabbing, supposed stabbing, is at the address. Where did I put the address at? I must have posted it down below. Hold on. It's right here. The Orthodox Jews Public Affairs Council located in the area wrote on Twitter at 9:50 this eve, a call came in about a mass stabbing at 47 Forshey Road in Monsey, Rockland County, 30 miles north of New York City. 47. And, I was just visiting with my family. I don't talk about this really around my sister because she hates it. But my mom, who can't remember anything, she'd watch this video and forget what 47 is 5 minutes after it ended. But, she was recognizing how the 47s were showing up because we were talking about it. It was so obvious in this movie called Traitor with Don Cheadle. There's this scene where he's talking to the government, and in the background, the camera's like zooming in on this 47 in the background, just making it so obvious that it's a big part of the shot. And I'm just saying, you see how that's in this movie, Mom? I said, just pay attention. You're going to see that number's everywhere. So she turns on the next movie, like the next day, and she wants to watch this movie on Netflix about the two popes. And how does that begin? It begins with them voting for who will be the next pope. They're using a red thread, which is symbolic of Kabbalah, where this code of letters and numbers comes from. That's Gematria. Again, it's all Jewish. Story is that the Knights Templar, after the Crusades, secured this knowledge and brought it back to the Catholic Church. But anyway, they're having the vote, and then the winner gets 47 votes at first. Of course, 47. And the story ends up finishing with Pope Francis. Remember, Vatican and Francis both equal 47. Vatican 47. And these other numbers matter too, but Francis 47. So, it's just everywhere. So, tonight I just sent her a text message. I said, look at how the mainstream media is reporting the address of where the synagogue stabbing is. 47 Forshey. And it already sounds weird, right? This isn't a regular synagogue. It's a guy who runs a synagogue out of his house. I mean, doesn't it already sound suspect? Anyway, don't forget what this number means. Star of David's 47. There's 47 degrees on the Masonic compass of the Scottish Rite out of France. The Scottish Rite's the most Jewish branch of Freemasonry. 47 represents the 47th problem of Euclid, how to establish foundation for a structure. The word foundation's 47. It's why this nation's birthday is the 4th day of the 7th month. If you run it the other way, 7-4. Holiday's 74. Independence Day's 74. Again, a Scottish Rite Freemason laid out Washington, D.C., named after a Scottish Rite Freemason, George Washington. L'Enfant from France. France equals 47. So does D.C., so does government, so does authority, so does obey. So does the cabal, so does policeman, so does cop, so does White House, so does president, so does Trump, so does Republican, so does Democrat, and so on. The word obey and the word news. Look at the overlap. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. Have you noticed how I shouldn't say nobody. Have you noticed how almost nobody questions anything they see in the news, even though the majority of the time it doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense, it looks like obvious bullshit, it looks like a lie? It looks like it's trying to steer you to make you think a certain way, to favor a certain this, to hate a certain that, to be confused, to be in fear. Anyway, look at the gematria of obey and news. And again, this is why you want to know all 4 base ciphers. Alphabetic order with the rules of numerology, reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. Obey 6116, news is 6116, obeys 4720, news is 4720. And again, there's a lot of words that have relationships where it's the exact same in all 4 ciphers rather than running it in reverse. Judge and gavel, for example. All 4 ciphers, the exact same. Alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. Reverse alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. Notice Trump is 4788. Remember, Trump swore in his first Supreme Court Justice, Neil McGill Gorsuch, on April 7th, 4-7. Judge 4788, gavel 4788, Trump 4788. Look at Neil McGill Gorsuch, if I can spell his name right. Neil McGill Gorsuch, 88. You see the 187? Again, that's a big number too. Washington, D.C., 187. George Washington, 187. Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 187. In this cipher, it's also 88. Society of Jesus, 187. Again, same numbers we talk about all the time. So just imagine how it was for me. For years, I was like, why do they always put 47 in stories? And then you find Gematria, and you're like, oh my God, this is what they're doing. If you have not seen the film They Live, I'm going to try something out before we end this live stream. I'm going to show. If you have not seen the film They Live, you got to see it. But the motto from that film is They Live, We Sleep. You see the 74, alphabetic order and rules of numerology? This is the most pure cipher. They live, we sleep. Gematria is 74. So is English. And again, what the film is about is this man who finds these glasses in a church, and when he puts them on, when he looks at billboards and money and magazines and television, he sees words that are hidden on the screen that he can't see otherwise. And the words say things like obey, money is your God, submit, shop, consume. The first word he sees, though, after the phrase they live, we sleep is obey, which has that 47. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. Submit. It's not an accident that the word Christian's 47. This number's coded all over religion. The people who gave us these holy books that have been severely edited, the people who control government. Remember, the original concept of government came out of religion. Before D.C. was there, it was the Catholic colony. And again, just to make a point, 4774, Jesus is 74, Messiah is 74, Gospel 74. Whoops, if I can spell. Parables is 74. The English translation of Jesus is Joshua 74. The Roman word for cross, Ankh, is 74. Cross is 74. Jesus Christ is 74. And again, New Testament 42. It begins with the 42 generations to Jesus, who died for your sins. Sins 42. The 42 laws of Ma'at. Saviors 42. When you write out 42, it's 74. Anyway, the point is, we have controllers. And they've encoded the things that they use to control us, to make us submit and obey. Religion one, government one, news another. Are these not the things that control the minds of most people? Outside of we who are the truth seekers and who question things, the answer to that question is yes. Yes. Yes, people are absolutely controlled by religion, government, authority as well, and news. Okay, so we got a stabbing at the mosque on 47, at the address 47, and I got lazy. I didn't even decode the rest. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Actually, I did decode a few more things. So this happens on the 28th, right? In the town of Monsey, 28. A machete was supposedly used. Brutal. Machete, 28. The word kill, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, is 28. Remember, the Ides of March, meant to remember the stabbing of Caesar. That's on March 15th, the 74th day of the year, the day Etsy and Bonanza banned my book. Stabbing 74, Jewish 74, Masonic 74, Occult 74, Gematria 74, English 74, and the list goes on. Again, holiday, Independence Day, more and more and more. Brooklyn, New York, where Etsy's out of, who banned my book on the 74th day of the year, teaching people about Gematria. Brooklyn, New York 74, one of the most Jewish neighborhoods in America. Ashkenazi Jews 74, which populate Brooklyn, New York. Monsey on the 74th meridian. Don't forget, earlier this year, March 15th, we said circle that day. Ides months in advance, connected to the mega bomber in October of 2018. You end up getting the mosque shootings. Then on that day, we said circle the weekend of Tisha B'Av, because This mosque shooting is synced up with Tisha B'Av. Then you get a shooting at a mosque in Norway on Tisha B'Av, where they said the March 15th attacker was inspired by Anders Breivik, who was the bomber July 22nd. I forget what year. Was it 2011, 10, somewhere around there? But in Oslo, where you got the mosque shooting. Again, we've been showing what will come in the news before it comes by understanding this code. And by the way, Caesar 47, like president, like government, like authority. Think about the initials for PM. P is the 16th letter. The numerology of 16 is 1 plus 6 is 7. M is the 13th letter. 1 plus 3 is 4. PM is 7-4, right? And I realize I forgot to switch the screen back over. My fault. I've been presenting stuff that I expect you to see. So it's on the screen here. My fault. I left the camera on me. All the 47s. Shoot, did I have any of this on the screen? Anyway, it's all here. It's all on my blog. But it's always the same old numbers. 47, 28, 74. And again, here's the address, 47 Forche Road in Monsey. Something else I noticed is the name of this town has Gematria that's a lot like temple. And remember, Israel's 71 years old right now. Remember, there's a shekel on sale with Trump's head on one side to raise money to build the third temple, which some Zionists want to build at Temple Mount, where Al-Aqsa Mosque is. And Machete sums to 134 as well, like Tisha B'Av, like 9th of Av. Again, that's the day they remember the destruction of the two temples. This past year, that's where we said circle those dates, August 10th, August 11th. You got Jeffrey Epstein's death by the numbers. You got the mosque shooting in Oslo. You got the Hong Kong protests becoming the story of the year. They said, remember HK 811. H is the 8th letter, K is the 11th, 811. It was 134 days after the protest had really picked up in Hong Kong when that crackdown happened on August 11th, Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av, the day of tragedy in Jewish history. So, by the way, this town, Monsey, New York, 59, like Freemasonry. Remember, in Hebrew and English, Freemasonry equals 59. 59 is the 17th prime. Modern Freemasonry began in 1717. 59 years later, the U.S. was started by a gang of Freemasons. Modern Freemasonry began in London 74, on the date June 24th, 17, 6 plus 24 plus 17, 47, the year 1717, Mason 17, Freemasonry again 59, the 17th prime. This story comes on a date with 59 numerology. So, anyway, 47, never fails. And we were just talking about 47 with the ongoing Kevin Spacey thing. Earlier this year on September 11th, it was reported that somebody who was going to testify against him, an anonymous massage therapist, died on September 11th, 11/9, like 119. He responded in character playing Francis Underwood from House of Cards. Francis is 119, Underwood's 119. That was 47 days from his own birthday. Francis and Underwood are both 119 and 47. And again, D.C., government authority, the cabal, White House, President Trump, Republican, Democrat, news, obey, judge, gavel, etc., etc. It's all 47. Time is 47. Time's the ultimate foundation. The tropics of this earth are separated by 47 degrees. So on and so forth. So, and then, of course, on Christmas Eve, we got the story of Ari Ben, or maybe it came the day of Christmas or the day after. Lost track of time, but anyway, reportedly on Christmas Eve, Ari Ben, a Norwegian, committed suicide at age 47. He reportedly committed suicide Christmas Day, a day after Kevin Spacey put out this Christmas video. And suicide's 47, so was Norwegian. And Norwegian suicide at age 47 on Christmas, the Christian High Holy Day. Again, the day associated with Jesus, who is a sacrifice in the Bible. And Christmas Eve 74, like Kevin, like Jesus, like cross, like Messiah, like gospel, like parables. Ari Ben died 86 days after his birthday. Again, blood sacrifice 86, human sacrifice 86, 86 to get rid of. Same redundant patterns. And again, we saw the death of George Michael's sister. Their family surname. Her name's 79, like murder, like 3. And she died 3 years after George Michael on Christmas Day. Both dead on Christmas when George Michael has the hit song Last Christmas. Their family surname's 47. It's also 52 like Hart. George Michael died 1 year after he turned 52 on Christmas. Last Christmas I gave you my heart. His last Christmas alive he was 52. Or the last Christmas where he lived through the whole day, you could say. And hold on, let me also talk about Don Imus. His death at 79. So Don Imus dies at 79. Again, murder is 79. We talked about it earlier that day because of George Michael's sister in the news. And from his birthday to his death was his 158th day of his age. Freemasonry's 158. The day he died was a date with 58 numerology as well. Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, Secret Society 58. Again, Trump right now, the president of this nation, announced he was running for the 58th U.S. presidential election from the 58-story Trump Tower. He hired the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day. On May 8th, decades in advance, Suddenly Susan released the episode with Donald Trump about him being the president on 5/8. Hillary wrote the book again, What Happened 58. Again, I'll remind people there's this movie. You can rent it on DVD. You can probably stream it if you want. It's called Ready or Not. And it's about a family that's powerful and rich from selling board games. And when a family member gets married and brings a new person into the family, they play a game. And if the wrong card's drawn, they have to kill that person, the new family member who just got married. And seems like it's about once every 30 years the card gets drawn. And they end up putting people on a pentagram, a downward pointing pentagram, which is a satanic symbol. And they scream, Hail Satan, and murder the person on the pentagram table. This is what goes on in the movie. And again, they put out these movies, so some people will watch them, like us, and be like, God, that's exactly what we're pointing out is going on. And then some will be like, oh my God, you got to stop with the conspiracies. That's just a coincidence. This is just movie stuff. And again, they make it hokey at the end of the movie. They make it real hokey at the end. If you watch Ready or Not, you'll see how dumb they make the end of the movie so that people go, yeah, that's just a silly movie. People aren't really killing each other. Because the family believes that if they don't murder for Satan, their success at their business will just all crumble. You know, kind of like how Bob Dylan said he sold his soul a long time ago to the chief commander of this world for his fame. Said that to Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes, who died shortly after. But, and again, all this stuff going on at the time of Christmas. Lucifer's 74, Satan's 55, like December. Satan, the reshuffling of Santa. By the way, Imus 62 and 46, like Sacrifice 46 and 62. We talk about it all the time. So, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more, but I'll also remind you about 158. The Jesuits formed on 15/8. I don't know if you get more satanic than the Jesuits. So, you probably can. You probably can, actually. Hold my tongue, but the point's still made, so. Remember, Martin Luther wrote the 95 Thesis, and then the Jesuits were formed to kill his followers on the day leaving 95 days left in the year. It's been a numbers game for that long. All right, guys. I'm staying up late. I'm tired. I've been battling a cold. Probably not smart to stay up late. We'll see if I'm punished for it for tomorrow. Everyone around me has been sick. I'm actually surprised I haven't been sick. I'm doing pretty well. People have been around me deathly ill, including Sweet Lady right now. But, again, in the days ahead, I'm going to plan to put together this campaign, persuade people to support it, and hopefully, before long, we'll have a physical copy of the book in hand, and we'll be doing this Gematria 500 thing, pounding the pavement, getting the word out, bringing awareness to places where it makes sense to bring awareness to. Site of a mass shooting, let's get a Gematria 500 thing right there. And you know what? When we go there, we'll be strategic. We won't be just screaming that it's a hoax. We're going to just be bringing awareness about the repetitive patterns in these shootings, and we're looking for answers. Are the police putting on drills and reporting them as real shootings? Are police dressing up in costumes and actually shooting people to create the scene? Because all of these stories are the same. The details are the same. The shooter commits suicide in the end. So we need to get to the point where we get some of the answers we don't have. We see the rituals. We predict the dates before they happen. But how do we get it to the next level where we have the real tangible evidence of who is responsible? You know, we have a really good idea. We pound the pavement as a group. We're going to get the missing questions and win over every last skeptic. Because I know that what we've been saying is going on is very close to being all the way right. There's just a few missing pieces that we can figure out by taking this to the next level. So Gematria 500, I'm going to figure out how to make this work. If you're not at my website yet, gematriaeffect.news, not news.com, Gematria Effect, just like you see it down here at the bottom of the screen, .news. There's an email letter you can sign up for that. If you're interested in this Gematria 500 thing, I'm thinking that's what I'll do. I'll make the newsletter to let people know where the next Gematria 500 event is, in case you can make it there, or send somebody you know who would like to be there, so we can make the difference that needs to happen. My goal, 2 months into the new year, so by the end of February 2020, I don't want to take any more time than this. I'm going to have a book ready to print, physical copy. I'll be done writing it, put it that way. Hopefully you can get it by that time. Might take an extra 30 days after that. But once I'm done finishing that, something that really should have been finished a year ago, once that's finished writing, I'm just going to be focused on organizing people to respond to these events. Because we know how it works. You know, there's a big story every month. If we could get a gathering at these places, I think it would be awesome. I would like to travel to each one of these, speak there, invite other speakers from the community, people who are willing, who want to, and help people learn this knowledge, and then also link up through the Free to Find Truth website. Because my other goal is once we leave a location, hopefully people that came there, they've now joined the Free to Find Truth platform. They're now looking for other people in their community who were just at the event, and then, you know, going forward, you know, say, you know, we're there to respond to an event in 2018. Maybe another big one happens in 2019. Now there's a network of people who know each other, and they can meet and gather again. And it doesn't even have to be organized. Now there's just a grassroots network of people who can respond to incidents in their community. Because we see how it cycles. Some cities get a big story every year. Some get them seem to every other year, every third year. So anyway, this is the goal. I'll be looking forward to your guys' feedback. Let me know what you think. And I think we can wrap it up for tonight. So until next time, Truth Seeker. Oh, and don't forget to hit the like.